Is this a secret? I know you like to keep it clean. No prying eyes to keep you.
Here's where I need to make sure that I mute, just in case they raid us. Mute the board.
I've been training all my life. Guess your numbers are bright. Cause when she calls mine, I'm not gonna lie. Those pretty eyes, are you scared now? You can't erase all the things you've seen. Do you like my shells and all my monsters? Now you're my lady.
Now, I was feeling real proud of myself of being ready for this, and then I was like, you know, there are things that I forgot to get set up, like our wrapper.
Oh. I'm not gonna lie.
Let me know if you get a response to that email you sent.
You'll be fine.
And let's go live. All right, we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the TTRPG Theater. I am your host, Rob Phantom NJ, and I've got a guest with me tonight. I'm really happy to have with us George Ultramagnus Hardy, Ultramagnus from the Trollord Games. Touch of Evil. I don't think you need to put in the one. Let me verify that worked. Oh, no, okay, it worked. Cool. Good evening, Warp. Good 3K. Good evening. Glad to have you with us. But yeah, I have George. Thank you for joining us. It's good to have you here. It's good to not just be potentially talking to myself.
Thanks, Rob.
So I'm happy to report that the crowd here is usually pretty good about talking to me through this. So let's get right to it. Well, first of all, we do have, as you can see, we do have the giveaway going. Exclamation point ticket, or actually, I guess you can do exclamation point ticket space 1 to enter the raffle for a $10 digital product coupon from Trollord Games. And Trollord Games is a sponsor of this channel. Maker of Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures and Harvesters, and was it Victorious is the other one?
Victorious, yeah.
George,
the big four.
You're suddenly coming in very low.
Oh.
There you go. That sounded better.
Better?
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, let's get right into it because we've got a good topic for you today. We want to talk about NPCs. And I credit George for the idea, because this is one of the topics in the Castle Keeper's Guide, which, as you can see, we have I think it's the 4th printing is the one that I have up. It's the latest non-OGL printing that I'm aware of available. Though big news is the fact if those of you who backed the C&C Reforged, the beta copy of the new Castle Keeper's Guide was released today. So check your emails if you were a backer and you were supposed to be getting it. You should be able to get it through drive-through RPG. And let me go and bring that up on my screen so we can see it. So I guess the question is, George, where would you like to start?
Well, I think the best part to start with is the actual Castle Keeper's Guide, going through chapter 4, I believe it is, that we're
It
looking at
is
tonight.
chapter 4. There we go.
And it's really the very nice basics of this being covered for us. Your basic, this is your NPC. This is what you should do with your NPCs. And like everything in the Castle Keeper Guide, there's a lot of great advice behind it.
Yeah, sorry, it's funny. It's one of those things where the Castle Keeper's Guide, you'll hear a lot of people, it's like, as far as, well, what books do you need? And technically, you really could just play with the player's handbook. Obviously, you want Monsters and Treasure for the monsters. Lord Kazumba, good to see you, sir. Thank you for popping in. But the Castle Keeper's Guide, especially if you're new to running a game, and not necessarily, I don't even know if it's necessarily new to running C&C, but just really new to running a game, it's an invaluable resource for getting information that you might not think about, getting you to think about things that you hadn't possibly done in a while, things you might be forgetting. So I like where it says the going to the tyranny of rules, but the part where it says running NPCs on the fly isn't as easy as winging combat, but it can be done. So
yeah,
and this is one of the things that
statement.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I did want to talk about. Is NPCs. There's a number. First of all, let's talk about the different types of NPCs, because I think you can kind of categorize them in different formats. And this especially comes to the preparation part of it. You have the NPCs who are kind of supposed to be part of the background. Really, I mean, the people that are passing by, the vendors in the various shops, until they basically are kind of background until somebody decides to interact with them, of course. Then you have the NPCs who are integral to the story. These are the people that either you're getting quest information from, obviously anyone that they have to interact with as part of the story. Anyone who, honestly, antagonists and henchmen, hireling, they're all NPCs, they're all NPCs as well. These are the people that you're going to want to spend more time prepping for. But I like when it says, talking about this part for that very first one, where it's people are kind of like in the background until they interact. Because if you play in a sandbox type game like I normally run, you're going to have NPCs. Your players may go anywhere, do anything, and you never know who they're going to talk to. George, are you more sandbox for your games? Are you normally more sandbox, or how do you normally go about that?
I'm normally a lot of sandbox in my games, and then I like to copy paste wherever I can. So, for example, in my current campaign, I have L1, Bone Hill, Reston. That town is in my campaign world. I shift up reskin it, basically. New deities, but it is an all fact Reston Ford.
I am looking at I think right now, like, I'm looking at Ascadia. I need to go back and grab my stuff for Lankmar that I have, the resources that I have. I need to decide which city I basically want to reskin them as in my Greyhawk campaign, because not everything is there. So yeah, no, reskinning stuff, taking stuff from elsewhere, is always a big thing.
And
So
with it comes
yeah,
the NPCs, reskinning them as well. New names, new ideas behind them, just to mix it up for those players who might come in with their old thinking, just to make it a little bit different.
absolutely. Let's take a look at the running NPCs on the fly. The guidelines that they have. The first one talking about notes, making detailed notes about those NPCs the characters are going to encounter more than once and with which they have prolonged relationship. Now, I when it says notes, I'm assuming that they're talking about taking notes as you're going along while those interactions are happening, so for future purposes. Um, Note how the NPCs react to the various personalities of the characters themselves, and also specify how they should react to dangerous or scary situations, or how they might react to character requests for information. Now, that last part sounds more planned ahead, should be thinking about more planned ahead of time, which is interesting considering this is not quite winging it.
Right. No. But I have to give credit to, and I'm really bad at this because there's so many people in the C&C Discord or the Troll Lord Games Discord. I could really see those notes underneath the tyranny of rules as notes, personalized names, give them life.
Mm.
I could see all of that. And one of the folks over there mentioned about putting them on a 3x5 note card, which I just love the old school feel of that, pen and paper all the way, and just flipping through like a Rolodex and having all this information at hand. And those 4 notes, well, 5 actually on the next page, being critical to put them on a note card, the notes, the personal things, I think the only thing that's missing from that list, Rob, and you might have others to add to it, is giving them a secret, right? Maybe that NPC, and you don't want to do this all the time, right? But you want to give that NPC a little bit of flavor, something that, you know, maybe secretly they're a werewolf. I mean, that's really going high on the chart. But maybe they're a murderer from another town. You know,
I like the secret. I don't know that necessarily. I guess the secret, well, whatever they're keeping secret, or maybe not so much secret with the unknown. What is it the character?
yeah,
What is it the characters don't know about them? Like, I mean, basically, and it could be who their relationships, who they know, who they're friends with, what information that they might have access to, were they a
yeah,
former adventurer, and things. I like that idea. That is a good one. I do like, and this one, it's something, you bring up the index cards, and that's a fantastic idea. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that, because I used to love doing index cards for whatever monsters I wanted for a particular adventure, because I didn't necessarily know, because of Sandbox, I didn't know necessarily where it was going to take place, but I had an idea of the things that I wanted them to encounter depending on the situation. So I would write out the index cards for the various monsters, ahead of time, and this way I would have them at hand. Doing that for NPCs, that's something I probably should have started doing long ago. And I need to work on that, because that's a fantastic idea. But giving them a personality. One of the things that I've always tried to stress to people who are, looking to run a game for the first time, no one is expecting you to be a voice actor. No one is expecting Shakespeare. You don't have to have a different accent, a different voice, for each one. You can just changing the personality a bit, having a character talk a little faster than the others, and sometimes your voice will change with it anyway, but having those personality quirks, are they really methodical about the way they talk? Do they do a monotone thing? Are they kind of a little bit high pitched? You don't need to go full on trying to do an impersonation of some accent. If you can, fantastic. But having that personality for the characters, and doing something, give them, basically something that makes them memorable. This way, because it becomes easier for you and it becomes more familiar to your players, as you're doing.
I agree.
Names is always a good one. We do have a quick product thing. We have TLG's Book of Names. There's the Gygax Book of Names coming out with the Kickstarter. There's probably 100 online sources where you can do this, name generators, whatever. I highly recommend just having a bunch of names, depending on what kind of situation you're in, just set so that you can pick one off the list and toss it in when you come up across somebody. I do like, though, that they do it by this one does it by the different races, and such, which is kind of cool. But yeah, have those names ready ahead of time. This way you're not fumbling for it.
Absolutely. Years back, I believe it was the old DM's assistant from TSR. And one of the options was it would print a file, a bunch of names, and just print out that file. And, I would cross them off the list as I used them, or write a name behind it. Like, like this is the dwarf or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that all works very well along with it.
I mean, if you can come up with names off the top of your head, that's fantastic. Even if you just give them a first name and not worry about the last name until surname till later, it's not like everyone had to have a surname. Just so that every bartender isn't named Chef.
No.
Why? I have to tell you, there's an interesting thing about that. There was, there's the old canard about the players always focusing on the one NPC that the GM had no intention of ever actually doing anything with. It was just like somebody who's just supposed to be part of the background, and you make the mistake of just giving one little detail of flavor, and everybody hyper focuses on it. And I think there was one. The running joke was, there's a goblin, and there's a goblin standing in the corner, and his name is Sam. And it became the legend of Sam Sporkle, the most interesting goblin in the universe. Meanwhile, he's trying to get them to pay attention to the wizard. It's like, but there was one, I know there was one GM who said that they had got so frustrated by it. And honestly, it may very well have been in the TLG Discord. I'm not sure where. I know this conversation was held on Discord somewhere. I don't remember which one. But I remember there being a GM who said they got so frustrated with it that all of their NPCs that they had no intention of being anything more than NPC I think they were all named Bob.
Oh.
If the NPC's name was Bob, that meant they had no intention of having anything more other than just the general. They were there as part of the furniture.
Yeah, the furniture. I like that. That's a good approach to take as well. That way the party knows you're not really stopping the game or anything. They get the idea and you can just move along instead of having the party interrogate them or, keep on going after questions. Because if you try to role play it and say like, hey man, I know nothing about this. And they're like, oh, you do know something about it. It's a red herring that you don't need.
Now, they also mention number 4, give them life. So you have to maintain your objectivity. You treat each NPC as if they were your own character in terms of the desire to stay alive. Remember, the survival instinct is a strong one, so no NPC will happily die for a PC without reason. This is a very, very important distinction, and it's something we're going to have another conversation. We thought about it, including in this one, but it's something that really does. Hello, I can talk. It really deserves a conversation of its own. We're going to have another one on henchmen and hirelings, and using them in your game, and basically kind of also some of the rules to keep in mind, not so much rules, but guidelines that you should keep in mind when using them. But the idea about no NPC will happily die for a PC without reason is a very, very strong one. But yeah,
I think along with that point, is that the information that they know or have, they're not just always going to freely give it up to anyone. And I think a lot of party members, when they interact with that NPC, they just think, hey, can we stay at your house? And the person's going to say yes. And it's like, no, you're adventurers, you're coming in all dirty and filthy. You got swords and weapons. And if they do let them in, maybe they're intimidated. There's a lot of feelings, that, think of yourself even, someone with a bunch of swords and staffs and spell books come knocking on your door. What is that reaction? A very nervous one, I would assume.
Yeah.
Or hostile.
And the more powerful the player characters are, and the higher quality of the weapons and armor and such, intimidation or awe even. I've had NPCs where they had a paladin and a knight in a party show up on their door. A party with a paladin and a knight, both sitting there in full in plate mail, and shiny as can be. Yeah, no, that's not intimidating at all.
Yeah.
Oh man. At number 5, very important, make them different. Some NPCs are cowards and others are heroes. Some are candlestick makers, some are innkeepers, and some are none of the above. Within that whole thing, you have innkeepers. Have your innkeepers be different. Who are the ones that are friendly, extremely friendly, outgoing, and here who are the ones that are okay, you lot, you don't make any trouble here. Who are the ones that are trying to scam, water down the drinks? No, not every innkeeper should be the same. Not every I don't know how many candlestick makers you're going through, but not every candlestick maker should be the same.
Yeah. And I think even keeping that fresh, like there's a whole list of adherents that are in the book. Just scroll down through and pick one at random that, might be a pilgrim or traveling, or just someone that you literally bump into in the streets. And it could be a simple argument with another NPC and the party gets involved, or, whether they want to or not, there's a yelling fight, and, there's a lot of opportunities.
As I said, some innkeepers are basil faulty and don't like their job. There you go.
I think we could all role play that.
I'm lucky enough to like my job at the moment, so it's like
there you go. Oh, so you're going to be that innkeeper, huh?
I'm that guy. It's like, happy to be here. How you doing? You mentioned adherence.
The job I had the other time.
So you mentioned adherence, and for those who are not familiar, let's go with the CKG's definition of adherence. Created and played entirely by the castle keeper, adherents are the everyday people the characters encounter. The list of adherents is inexhaustible, but might include the following: priests of orders, priests of actually, I guess, different clerical orders, commoners, soldiers, barkeeps, guardsmen, shopkeepers, and smiths. The adherent is an essential tool for the castle keeper to explain, facilitate, or hinder an adventure. The CK most commonly uses them in role-playing scenarios where players are attempting to find information or are building relationships for future gain. CKs should use them at all levels of play. Now, one of the things I can tell you that I've been guilty of lately with my campaign is a lot of these adherents, I the party ends up having the adherents end up coming to the party, like getting everything started and pointing them to the next one, as opposed to the party going on. I don't know exactly when that happened or why, but I suddenly find that my adherents have become more proactive than reactive. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience.
I think that's something you have to be careful of is you don't want every NPC being a quest giver, like
Mm-hmm.
in World of Warcraft, or what is it? You see the question mark
Question
or the
mark over that,
yeah, yeah.
or the
Uh,
exclamation point over that. I think this person has a quest for me.
yeah, yeah, you don't want that. But you when you're doing the sandboxing, right, you want to make sure that they have the option. I had one of my players, he was writing down hooks from every NPC that, almost like he was playing Skyrim,
Mm-hmm.
go collect 10 butterflies. And, you know, um, you don't want to use these characters or NPCs as that. Um,
And I guess the other part of it is, you probably want to have a general. It's one of the difficult things about campaign planning is like when you start off with a small village, you can literally go and map out the entire small village, who everyone is ahead of time. And that's fantastic. That's great. If your campaign is based in a city, that's problematic.
right, right.
So I think at that point, what, and I want your thoughts on this. I think at that point, what you need to do is figure out who they really need to know. Like, you want to know who the captain. You might want to know who the captain of the guard is, in as far
Right.
as a name, or who the commander of the guards is as a name. But I think you may want to have that one guardsman, or that one captain of the shift, in your pocket. So it's like you kind of need to take the city and distill it down into, all right, what if this was a town and you'd have that one person in each job,
Right.
maybe two, and then go from there. You don't need to. This way, you're not looking at the city going, oh my goodness, there's 40,000 people or 30,000 people in the city. What am I going to do?
Um, I think it is important to get those critical NPCs down. And even if you just, again, use the note card idea or Excel file or whatever you want
Mm-hmm.
to, that you come up with something that, the guardsman, he's, strict and, but unshaven, unkempt. Now you have a different personality, right? Well, not personality, but description of the character. And um, I would even maybe go a step further and, do likes or dislikes, likes wizards, doesn't like barbarians, doesn't trust them, just to make it a little bit different.
And you can do that. I mean, you can do that ahead of time. I also can. I also like to do that where, and I need to get better at this.
Mhm.
And this is where again where the note card can help. Sometimes I remember to do it in OneNote, but I need to get better at like doing it on like note cards and such. You know, who did the NPC react to? Like, who talked to the NPC? Who's the person that struck a relationship? And is there anybody that pissed the NPC off? There could be that one
Absolutely.
character. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, I think that's an important part of the note taking too, and I think they mentioned, who is that NPC specifically, even in the party that they're going to come back to haunt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's where the game kind of gets fun because, that stable guy that you stiffed over at the other town tells his brother in the other town, or Rob, the guilds, well connected unions. well, I'll say unions, but uh, you know, hey, you try to get something done in another town and they have a rep on you, you know?
Yeah, oh no, for sure. Um,
Uh,
and I think one of the things that I've tried to do from a campaign standpoint is all of the characters are in this campaign are all part of the same adventuring guild.
mhm.
And there's, you know, there's a bunch of them now. Um, need a phone call to mute that. Um, so, you know, one of the things that I've tried to do is make sure that, you know, they're clear on the fact that they're there on behalf of the guild, trying to increase the guild's reputation. So I think it helps makes players think twice before doing something bad, because that's going to hurt that, you know, it's going to hurt them in multiple ways. You know, and how they treat them is all how they treat the NPCs also reflects on how the guild is seen. So, you know, as part of the story, you want them to go, you know, you want the guild to grow and get more of a reputation. And so far I think it's gone exceedingly well. I do like guilds. Guilds are an important thing. You know, just having them, they make for great story arcs. And actually, now that I think about it, that's another great topic of conversation. There's guilds in your game.
Oh, that's a long conversation.
Yeah, you know, it's good. I like this. This is
Good though.
paying great. This is paying great dividends. Um, Now, one thing that I also think is important, and it doesn't really, you know, it doesn't really mention it here. When possible, bring back the NPCs. If your party reacts well to an NPC, this is not necessarily for every NPC. If the party doesn't have any, you know, you don't sense any real rapport with the NPC,
Mhm.
and sometimes it hurts because you want them to have a rapport with a particular NPC, and it just does not happen. But if your party hit, you know, there's something about that NPC that the party likes, mark that down. Mark that down and bring that NPC back sooner rather than later. Cultivate that relationship, because it does, you know, it's again, you mentioned contacts, having contacts, people who can get them information. You know, they instantly become a possible story hook.
Yeah.
And the better,
Willie
you know,
just
the more,
mentioned that.
yeah, and it also helps, you know, NPCs are, you know, descriptive narrative is important and it's great, but it's the things that the players interact with that are going to bring them deeper into the game. It's the, you know, it's show, don't, we call it show, don't tell, I think is the
Yeah.
term. Where you want them to see, interact, and have that give and take, so that don't lore dump on them. Let them have the lore come to them organically. Same thing with NPCs. You want them to meet these people. You want them to become, deepen these relationships so that the world becomes more real to them. It feels lived in.
Absolutely. And the other part is you don't want to overdo it.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's good to have the person who gives you the information, but you don't want to make it into a crutch for the party. It's all about balance, really.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, it should be understood that, the NPC, just because they've had information on, you mentioned earlier about what does the NPC know, or, who, what secrets they might have. They're not going to know everything. One NPC,
Right.
Unless that NPC happens to be a sage, they're not going to know everything. I mean, you could have the town busybody who does think they knows everything, but never assume that the NPC's information is correct.
Right.
Um, there's one, actually there's a topic, speaking of which, there's a question that you asked, or something that you mentioned last night, and there's the NPC, the backstabber.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So here's my thought on that. Backstabbers to me are like mimics. You can bring them out, you can have one, but as soon as you do, your player characters are going to see them everywhere.
Right.
So I'm curious, what are some of the things that let me want to give you the first shot at this. What are some of the things that you do to avoid having the backstabbing NPC suddenly ruining all NPC relationships for your players?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Well, typically they just do it anyway. But I think how not to ruin that. Sometimes another NPC to stop the other one, or something that'll build up trust easily with the party to win back the trust. That not every NPC is evil. Sometimes if there's another motive happening, it's coming clean. Yes, backstabbers are everywhere. But there's also the good people, and I think that's important to bring out in the play.
One of the things that I try to do when I have an NPC who's going to betray the party, I try to drop little hints that something's not quite right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll do it as a red herring, and there's actually everything's okay. It really is actually okay. It just may be that the NPC was, we mentioned being intimidated and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I do is if the characters try to go and explore or try to hedge against the possibility of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
And they specifically mentioned that they're doing this, because they have, suspicions or whatever. I usually let it work, unless it's something, unless I had something planned that, their preparation didn't cover. Within reason, I try to at least have it some mitigation against it. It may not completely negate the betrayer's plans, but I'll have it at least partially mitigated.
Right.
Something so that they can feel, I don't necessarily want them going off and spending, days trying to plan for everything being betrayed. But I want that, little hint, the NPC just has this nervousness about them that's inexplicable. There's, there's a way that, the way that the NPC talks to them makes them uncomfortable. Or it could be they find something, it's one of the things where maybe they look into the NPC's background and find out that the NPC's background might be there might be more to the story. The NPC turns out he was a former pirate, and it's kind of, or worked for a gang or something where, right. They're interested in what the players are trying to do is not completely on the up and up.
And I think it comes back to how paranoid your party is, right? The paladin in the party may automatically go to detect evil or sense evil. The wizard with ESP or detect thoughts, whatever the spell may be, depending on edition, version, and OGL freeness. Those types of things also make running the NPC challenging, especially a betrayal. because looking to betray your friends or what may be your friends is definitely evil.
Hmm.
And it also depends on the level of betrayal. And I think that's a whole separate topic, but last night when we were talking, one of the most epic ones, and I think betrayals should be epic a lot of times. I went right to Dragonlance with Sturm and Kiara, right?
Yeah.
And that was the ultimate, like the downfall of Sturm. Like you can't get better, I don't think.
Yeah, wow. I can, I will forever remember the image. Trying to remember the detail. I do remember some of the details of it, but yeah, that one, sticks with you for sure.
Yeah, but it's an epic moment.
Oh yeah.
And that's what really makes it live on forever. And the artwork.
Yes. Let's see. Oh, well, let's go for while we're, we've got a little bit of time. Let's talk about other resources. So, I mentioned the book of names and such, and we talked about using index cards, for, what do you call it? For keeping track of NPCs. If you need an NPC and you're in a creative rut, and it hits. I mean, listen, even as I've been running games for 40 something years, and there's still times where it's like, okay, my brain refuses to work. I can't come up with a good, something really good that I need off the top of my head. So, what two of the best, of the various source books? See you in a little bit, Jay. We'll be raiding to Lord Gazumba after the stream. Again, we do have a giveaway going on, exclamation point ticket to enter. It is a $10 coupon for any digital product from the Troller Games website.
So, Rob, coincidentally, the $10, I don't know about the PDF version, but the Book of Names is a $10 or $9.99 product.
There you go.
So, yeah, isn't that nice and coincidental?
I would like to say that I planned that. No, did not plan that at all. Honestly, I've had this for so long that, well, it predates the new Troller Game Store. Let's take a look at two of my favorite, in outside of the Player's Handbook, Monsters and Treasures, and TKG. These are two of my favorites. The first one is the NPC Almanac, The Register.
Mm-hmm.
So, for all the talk about the various, as far as enemy mobs and different creatures the thing can face, it's quite possible that playing fully fleshed out NPCs, fighting against fleshed out NPCs, especially when they're various character classes, is up there in deadliest, because they're on par with, depending on what level you set them at, they're on par with the party. And in the NPC Almanac, The Register, we have several things. We've got non-class based NPCs. These are based on, some already made NPCs, based on different professions. Apothecaries, armorers, barbers. What else we got? Wow, bargeman, blacksmith. There's a whole lot of, wow. Okay, there are a whole lot of them, and it gives you right off the top of the bat. These are made to order. You don't have to think about anything. They give you the name, gender, appearance, personality, and the hook. Hey, you wanted the secret? There's your secret.
It's
apothecary with a gambling problem. I can't imagine where that would go wrong.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And that's fully usable in Amazing Adventures, C&C, or any RPG. That's the beauty of it too.
Yeah, yeah. This section of the book is 100%. There's really well, actually, there's 3 sections of the book. Now that I think about it, we'll take a look at the third one. But the first part of it, the non-class based NPCs, applicable to literally every TTRPG, to some extent anyway, especially for fantasy RPGs.
Right.
Oh, and wait a second. I realized that they even have the stat block for them. I completely missed that part because you want to look at this PDF as 2 pages, including what treasure they have on them and anything special they might have. All right. Then we go down to class base, and for class base, let's go to the clerics. Again, name, gender, appearance, personality, hook, and then we go talk about the stat block. You've got NPCs of all different alignments, levels, and it also includes their primary attributes, their secondary attributes, so you know what their saving throws are going to be like. What armor, weapons, any special gear that they have on them. You're going to want to watch some of these if you put them in for, depending on what equipment they have and such, because some of them have some really, really good stuff. So you decide to put, drop them in thing, just consider whether or not you want to take a look at what their magical stuff is. And whether or not they have, hey, talk about product placement. They have the backpack names in here.
Oh, did they?
So if you got the adventurer's backpack, well, you now know what kind of gear they have on them. And their spell distribution for spell levels, which I think is really cool. And there are a lot of them. Let's see, for clerics, we've got 100 clerics to choose from. It might be 100 of each class. I'm not sure.
I know it's either 99 or 100. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, fully, almost completely fleshed out NPCs made to order for any level that you need. If you need one, just take them, write that index card and plop them into your game. There you go. Boom. And that's this one is a game, for me, this one was a game changer. I had a thing where I knew that I wanted a couple of any spellcasters and just wanted to throw them together and put them in here. The only thing is you need to actually decide on for spellcasters, you have to decide on their spells.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's the one thing that you need to do. What is the engineering part?
Rob, to your point, like, while this is a great resource, there's other resources like it. I recall that there was essentially a TSR product that was a like book of NPCs.
I think I have that one for 2nd edition. I think it was
maybe it was 2nd edition. It's a very old book, regardless, and it has inside the book it has like a drawing, and then it tells you like 1 is this character, 2 is this character, and it's still usable.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit too iconic, I think, but the Rogues Gallery as well. You can't really say Vecna, but it's a book that you can pull off the shelf as well.
If I had known you were going to mention the Rogues Gallery, and I don't know why I didn't think of it. I have it upstairs. I would have brought it down so I could flash it on the screen because I ended up. It was the very first of my D&D possessions that I actually lost along the way. And I missed it so much that I actually went and bought bought a new, well, not new one, but I bought one somebody was selling secondhand on Etsy, or not Etsy, eBay, I should say, because it is the, honestly, it's why I am a Greyhawk person, because it has, the stat blocks are not the actual stat blocks that they use in the campaign, but it didn't matter to me. It had Mordenkainen, it had Rory, it had Tensor, Odaluk, all those name spells that were in the first edition AD&D spell, player's handbook. All those spells had the wizards here. They're here. Like, and they all play. They're all part of this one world.
Yeah, here we go. Let's have a little fun with Rob tonight. Name the Circle of 8.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Circle of 8. Obviously pre-Greyhawk Wars, because they had thing. Oh goodness! All right, so let's see. There's Mordenkainen, Bigby, Tensor, Odaluk, Otto, Rory. How many do I have there?
I think you have 6. Did you mention Bigby?
I did mention Bigby.
Bacab? I'm not sure if that's the correct name.
Bacab is a deity. Hey, Doc, good to see you, sir. Oh my goodness, who am I missing? Dromage.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Not Lehman. Lehman was originally one, but he was replaced before the second edition version of.
What was Rob Kuhn's character? Was that one of them?
Robilar was part of the he wasn't a wizard, but he was part of the Citadel of 8, which is what the Circle of 8. Yeah, Robilar was. Who am I forgetting? Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. All right. Well, I've failed, so I'm going to look it up. Greyhawk.
Just a little bit of fun, Rob. Right?
Mm-hmm. Who did I?
Quite a few.
And there was also a point where Mordenkainen and the Circle of 8, which I think happened after.
Nistel?
Yeah, it might have. Well, Nistel was part of it at one point.
Yeah, it seems like any 70s band where they broke up, they got back together, not everyone joined.
I'm trying to remember who it covered Gnome Assassins and PCs. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's talk about this for a second. I not necessarily Gnome Assassin NPCs, but we were talking briefly about before the stream about favorite NPCs, and there, I had mentioned a story about how I was running Village of Hamlet for my fraternity brothers, a couple of their family members, as well as who is Greg? Chuck? Did you just misname George? Oh boy. So yeah, I was talking about the fact that was running Village of Hamlet for the group, and obviously okay, Greg knows who he. I would hope Greg knows who he is, because I don't know who Greg is. So and the fact that you have the Inn of the Welcome Wench, which is one of the most old school gamers. It's like one of the the most well-known locations in probably the most well-known, one of the most well-known inns in old school gaming. You know, part of the Village of Hamlet and Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. So, you know, you have what do you call it? I decided that I wanted to have some fun with the you know, with the cast, and decided to have two serving girls working there, and just, you know, they were basically, they would have different personalities and different, and I don't remember how it ended up happening, but my girlfriend was playing, and we were playing 5e at the time. You know, I was running a 5e game at the time. My girlfriend was playing a female Goliath barbarian, and somehow one of the serving girls basically started basically became a fangirl, and just it was like, okay, you know, it's like, you are the coolest thing I have ever seen. You're the coolest person I have ever seen. And I think there's probably a charisma check involved or two, and just basically would go off and do whatever, you know, whatever the character needed her to do, you know, grab information, spy on some of the other guests, you know, run an errand across town, whatever it was. Yeah, and it made for a fun, because they kept having to come back to the village. So, you know, they had that constant interaction, which led to a lot of fun. On the other side, probably one of the more unexpected, you know, talk about unexpected NPCs. It was not a gnome assassin, and it was not Sam Sparkle, the world's most interesting goblin, but two kobolds. This was during the Friday Night Crusades game. We were still at this point running the Offstrag series of modules. We had not yet switched over to Greyhawk. And the party had slaughtered an entire like kobold warren. And they were going through one of the dungeons. It was either an A0 or A1, and they came across this group of people in chains that had been captured. And along with those being captured, there were two kobolds that were chained up. And frankly, I completely expected the party to just kill the two kobolds, because they killed every kobold they came across up until that point. Suddenly, the party decides that they're going to adopt the kobolds. And the half-orc fighter decides that he's going to teach kobolds how to fight. And the roles that I had for and against the kobolds, you would have thought they had plot armor, because these two would not, I didn't give them any extra hit points. These two would not die. And the party went to great lengths to keep the two kobolds alive. And it finally got to the point where the party was getting so big, I'm like, you need to set the kobolds free, because I can't keep up with this many people anymore. But those two kobolds that the party inexplicably went against everything they had normally done up until that point, decided to save the kobolds for no reason that I can fathom. Just kind of changed their mind, took pity on them, and kind of decided to make them cannon fodder that just would not die to any cannon I could come up with. And you know, the two kobolds got to live with the party's help. I swear there were party members who probably would have let themselves die before the kobolds died. It was amazing.
So Rob, any like parting advice, like do's or don'ts? I think one of the things you had mentioned to me was not to overuse them. NPCs, right?
Yeah. I mean, you do want to bring them back. So at some point, and especially if they find them interesting, so that they do build up that history with the players, but you don't want them to be the one-stop shopping for everything that the party needs, especially in terms of like information. Don't make them the crutch.
our my one group I played in back in the day, they were at what was the TV show? Atlantis, right?
Target
They're
Atlantis.
they're I believe so. The phrase was "Don't Sam Carter everything." Uh,
Okay.
Evidently, Sam Carter, one of the characters, would always have the answer
Ah, all
or
right. Yeah.
remarkably figure it out for the rest of the group. Um, and not taking the spotlight with it. You know, you can't have that NPC do everything
Oh no,
or save the day.
The NPC should never have the spotlight. I mean, unless the PCs put the NPC in the spotlight for whatever reason and they feel like doing it. Now the NPC should never be the spotlight. They should never take away from the characters.
Right.
In that way. Um yeah, and again, we the big thing on betrayal and because the betraying the party trope it's a thing as old as time.
Yeah.
But again, you can bring your campaign to a grinding halt if you do that too often, because the party
Mm-hmm.
is never going to trust any. Basically, the party will look for reasons to distrust your NPCs right off the bat, and depending on how they decide to display that distrust, you're just going to, you're going to basically have to nudge them, find other ways to nudge them along to get the adventure going. It's going
Right.
to be problematic. It's going to just cause issues. All right, awesome. Thank you everybody for coming out and hanging out.
Yeah.
Thank you to people in chat, those of you lurking. I appreciate you all. Thank you to Troller Games for sponsoring this channel. And while we're at it, let me close. I'm gonna give it another minute or so before I close out. Exclamation point ticket to enter the raffle. $10 coupon towards any digital product off the Troller Games store. As George pointed out earlier, the Book of Names, one of the resources we use, is $10 for $9.99 on the Troller Games store. Actually, George, do you have any final thoughts?
I think it's just using your NPCs in moderation, not letting them do too much, um, keeping a good grasp on them. And Rob, I totally agree. Bring them back, whether they're villains or not, or adversaries or allies. I like to refer to them as. Actually, that's one of the things I like to do. Is I like to try to get the party to have for every, I'll say, ally that they get, they may get one adversary. You know, they make friends with the bartender, the waitress, or whatever, the serving girl, and they automatically pick up an adversary of her older brother or father and two older brothers.
Or that annoying ex who won't go away. Yeah, or the unspoken love interest that goes one way, not reciprocated.
True.
And,
Very true.
Listen, that's a trope as old as time as well.
Yeah. Sometimes the tropes really work well. That's a good thing.
There's a reason why they're tropes. Yeah, no, I love all that. George, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to doing more of these with you, because it's nice having someone to bounce ideas off of for these things.
Well, next time we do this, I want to see a big Rolodex on your desk full of note cards that you just spin with NPCs on them. That would be the bomb. A big Rolodex.
I invite someone on the show and they give me homework. What is this? I feel I have lost control. All right, time to close out the Rolodex, Pat. Pat, you're old enough to remember what a Rolodex is. Or maybe you're so old that you're in a stage of forgetting things like what a Rolodex is. Could be.
It was a Rolodex, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, gonna close giveaway and throwing a winner. Pat draws. Congratulations. I will
Nice.
get that. I will get that digital coupon to you right after the stream. Please hold on. We are going to raid Lord Kazumba. All right, and we are going to go to a stream ending because I always forget that I have this. Again, thank you everyone for hanging out today. Thank you for all the chatting. It was this hour went really fast. It was really nice. And get your if you've got any kind of raid emotes ready, get them ready. And we're gonna be raiding in 3, 2, 1. See you on the flip side.
Take care.